If you've watched any of my videos so far, you might have picked up on the fact that I really like Pokemon. And well, actually, that's probably a bit of an understatement. What I meant to say was, I really like Pokemon. Okay, fine. I'm completely obsessed with Pokemon, and I have been since I was 8 years old. Okay, fine. I'm completely obsessed with Pokemon on a level that most people would consider unhealthy, especially most adults. And my deep emotional connection to and fixation on these games has had a lifelong grip on me that's tighter than an account manager's butt cheeks.
So anyway, Kimberly, what I'm trying to explain to you is that if we don't hit our QPRs this next quarter, we're definitely going to be in severe financial trouble because we're not meeting our KPIs. Yeah, Jeffrey, everyone at the office has been acting so weird lately. I don't know why everybody thinks I'm so uptight.
Okay, maybe not that tight. Maybe more like the 50-second turn of a Gen 1 rap from a ticked off Tentacruel that somebody stepped on by accident. But to be honest, as negatively connotated as the word obsession may be, it's really the truth. And I'm not sure that obsession even fully captures it. Because if you're anything like me, Pokemon is not a video game series. I mean, well, it is, obviously, but for us, it's far more than that. And I don't mean in the sense that there's also the anime, a litany of spin-off titles, manga, merchandise, the TCG, and now even an entire freaking theme park. Which I really want to go to, by the way, so if anybody has some extra frequent flyer miles laying around somewhere and wants to help a brother out, let me know. Please. But what I mean is that Pokemon for us is far beyond the level of just games that we like. I've played quite a few games in my life, and there are a lot that I like. And usually stereotypical nerd kind of games like RuneScape, World of Warcraft, Minecraft, and the list goes on. Nerd! And of course, just about everything Nintendo, which holds a very special place in my heart. But Pokemon is different. Pokemon is a part of who I am. And that may sound cringy, but I really don't care. Believe me, I'm past the point of giving a crap about what normal people think.
Hi, how are you?
You know, the kind of people that would look at Pokemon or video games in general as trivial, childish, a waste of time, or whatever else. The kind of people who constantly, emphatically gave me the following advice.
Go to college, go to college, go to college, go to college.
As if that was the single one answer for everything in life. And for most of my life, believe me, I tried. I tried to be normal. I tried to fit in. I tried to play along with the social dynamics that amount to psychological chess matches happening in real time. Fast forward a couple decades and my nervous system ended up more damaged and full of stress hormones than some dude who's got $1 million hinging on a Gen 4 Nuzlocke as he's walking in to face Cynthia's Garchomp. But anyway, that's not what this video is about, and maybe we'll get more into that stuff later. But for now, I will say this. If you're new to this channel, here's my commitment to you. For as long as I'm here, I will be myself, because I can't do anything different. If you get it, great. And if you don't, that's okay too. But above all, I want this channel to be a fun, welcoming, and positive space for Pokemon nerds like you and me. So if you're new here, welcome to the Crazy Bus. You're among friends. Because really, that's what Pokemon games have given me. A sense of community and belonging that I never thought I'd get. And that's a huge part of why Pokemon has stuck with me. And we'll have more on that community aspect coming up later in the video. But all of that is to say that Pokemon has been a tremendously positive influence in my life that I've never been able to really let go. So today, I'm going to make my best attempt in the best way that I know how to describe why this franchise is still such a core part of my identity even to this very day. 30 years after its original release and more than 25 years of me actually playing the games. And if you're in the same boat and you've ever wondered, why am I so freaking obsessed with this? I hope it might give some clarity. Oh, how would you know if you're in the same category, you say? I'll put it this way, if you had the whole day off and could do anything that you wanted, and you'd choose organizing your shiny collection instead of having any kind of contact with the outside world, welcome to the club.
Weenie Hut Juniors!
Okay, so let's jump into it. The 10 things that have sustained my lifelong Pokemon obsession, part 1. First up, we've got the music and sounds of the Pokemon series. And by the way, while each of these aspects of these games aren't listed necessarily in order of importance, it makes sense to start with this one, just given how powerful of an effect that it's had on me for my entire life. Aside from Pokemon, the only other interest that even comes close is music, particularly metal.
Ooh, heavy metal, huh? You mean like AC/DC and Sammy Hagar?
No, I mean like extreme metal and all 437 of its related subgenres. There's thrash metal, death metal, black metal, speed metal.
Shut up, nobody cares.
Oh yeah, right. And I think because I'm already inclined so much towards music that my brain was primed and ready to soak up some of the best video game music ever made. And to do so more efficiently than a storm-drained Gastrodon that's gone longer without something to drink than your Nintendogs. Because to say that Pokemon's music is special is to put it entirely too lightly. I don't know about you, but at this point the music from these games have basically become integrated with my soul. And really, when it comes to Pokemon's music, where would you even begin? This subject could really be an entire video of its own, or dozens of videos. But for the sake of time, I'm only going to cover the top 100 tracks. Okay, I'm kidding. From the very beginning in Red and Blue, Pokemon's music came out swinging harder than a drunk Arkansan who got cut off at the bar and had his truck insulted.
Now what'd you say about Chevrolet, boy?
But seriously, thanks in large part to the genius that is Junichi Masuda, this series has stacked up a massive catalog of music that's at times beautifully simple. At other times mesmerizingly complex. But always emotionally resonant. And if you're a musician, I'm sure you're aware. It wasn't until fairly recently when I was messing around on a keyboard trying to pick out some of Gen 1's music that I realized much of its compositions are really just variations of the same exact theme. Different movements in the same larger piece, like with classical music. Which clearly was and still is a huge influence on the game's soundtracks. And this is why these tracks translate so easily to orchestral arrangements, just like we heard in the Let's Go games. And coincidentally, a lot of Pokemon music also translates perfectly to metal, with distorted guitars and faster tempos. Partially because metal is really just classical music with different instruments, but also because, at least in my opinion, a lot of Pokemon music is really just metal in an 8-bit format. And of course, there are entire channels dedicated to this very subject, but I still, even now, continue to be amazed by what Game Freak was able to accomplish with the very limited technology available at the time. With just 4 sound channels on the original Game Boy, Masuda composed music that sounded far bigger than it really was, hit us right in the feels, invoked the exact emotions that different moments in the game warranted, and most amazingly is still jammed deep into our hippocampuses to this very day. That was hippocampus, by the way, not hippowdon. I wouldn't recommend jamming anything into one of those. For number 2, we've of course got the Pokemon themselves. And this one might be obvious, but I'd be remiss if a list like this didn't mention the ridiculously diverse roster of incredible creatures that we call Pokemon. Honestly, this is one of those things about the franchise that grabbed me almost immediately, even from the very beginning when I first played Blue version. Along with Silver, Blue was one of the very first games I played, and even with its limited colors and relatively simplistic designs, sprites, and pixel art, it was the designs of the not 10, not 20, not 50, but 150 unique pocket monsters that had me hooked harder than that tweaker at your local gas station.
Hey bro, you got like $5?
I mean, even most gold standard RPGs that you might compare Pokemon to didn't have that many unique character designs, especially at the time. And that's not even accounting for the fact that each Pokemon from Gen 1 all the way through Gen 5 had not only their main front sprites, but their back sprites, animated movements beginning with Crystal in Gen 2, and then alternate colorings, or what came to be known as shinies, and alternate forms of which there are tons for a good portion of the Pokedex. Now I will admit that a lot of the Gen 1 sprites, especially for Red and Green, well, look like butt. Especially the back sprites.
KFC, it's finger looking good.
Oh, and if you've ever wondered why a lot of the back sprites look like they don't match the front sprites in red, blue, and yellow, it's because they don't. The back sprites for the games outside Japan are actually the same as in the original Japanese versions of Red and Green, which had different front sprites. So that explains why some of them look like... Huh? Yeah, that. But this isn't even getting into all of the types, Pokedex entries, unique habitats, personalities, and individual characteristics of each and every Pokemon. It's incredible that Game Freak put in so much time and care into designing not only how these critters look, but also how they behave, where they live, and how they perform in battle. And somehow doing all this with a sense of continuity across them all. I mean, think about it. Despite the diversity of the National Pokedex, which is now at 1,025, or 1,028 if you count the Gen 10 starters, they all all somehow seem to belong. It's kind of like the opposite of a middle school cafeteria.
Thanks for the donut, you big fat butt muncher.
But yeah, even with a lot of Pokemon being inspired by monsters or kaijus, hence pocket monsters, there are still a lot of more simple and really cute ones, ensuring that there was a favorite for everyone. And that's just super cool. Number 3 is the settings of the Pokemon games and their huge emphasis on exploring their fascinating worlds at your own pace. And this is an aspect of the games that we have Satoshi Tajiri to thank for, among many others, because they were inspired by his childhood hobby of insect collecting, as I'm sure many of you know. By the way, as an American, I'm not sure I really understand that hobby because I freaking hate bugs, especially spiders. I'd rather face down a king cobra on bath salts than even look at a spider. They make me want to throw up. Something about the way they move, I don't know. I think Ron Weasley was onto something.
Spiders? Why couldn't we follow the butterflies?
But aside from capturing these bugs, there's the traveling around the regions to actually find them. And this combination of collecting and exploring is a huge reason why Pokemon appealed to me immediately, and still holds a special place in my heart to this day. Or actually in my dopamine deficient brain, I guess I should say. Anyway, even with the early game's pretty limited maps and overall very linear progression, they still managed to feel huge somehow, especially for their time. And that's a big achievement, and it's something that's kept folks like you and me coming back to Pokemon games generation after generation. I mean, be honest, even if you're looking at a new gen thinking, these Pokemon designs look like trash, at the very least, there's a part of you that's wondering, what is this region like? Is it urban or more rural? Does it have forests or deserts? Is the map mostly land or 90% water?
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
So this is another big reason why these games are in a league all their own. In every single set of new games, there's an entirely fresh world to explore. Different environments, different lore, different music, and different secrets to uncover. And honestly, it makes a lot of other games seem boring by comparison, at least for me. And it's kept us running back to Pokemon time and time again. Number 4 is Pokemon's portability. This is one that I never really thought that much about until preparing for this video, but it's something that's probably far too overlooked that we don't give nearly enough credit for. In the age of modern consoles and staring at that 100-inch flat screen TV in your basement for 2 weeks straight, the portability of Pokemon is something that might be kind of lost on us, but I truly believe it's a major reason why these buggy couple hundred kilobyte games blew up faster than a leaky propane tank in a trailer park on the 4th of July.
Hey, skater, pass me that Roman candle, would you?
But yeah, the original games were tiny. Red and Blue clock in at just 373 kilobytes. For comparison, that's less data than was in that research paper you did in the 9th grade at the very last minute. But despite the primitive tech, these little games took the world by storm. And this was largely due to the ability to play them anytime and anywhere. Well, as long as you had AA batteries, I guess. And probably not at your great aunt's funeral. Think of it this way, we judge modern games by how many hours that we've put into them or when we've played them. But what about where you've played them? If you grew up with Pokemon, it was probably in the back of your parents' freaking sweet 2001 Mercury Villager, under your covers at 2 a.m. on a school night, or at your little sister's 12-hour dance recital. Okay, so true story. When me and my sister were kids, she did dance classes, and once a year there'd be like this 8 or 9 hour long dance recital thingy or whatever, which was basically an eternity for a 13 or 14-year-old, which I think I was about that age at this time. So of course I was there waiting around all day for the actual dance things that my sister was actually in. So I was outside the event center thing, sitting on the sidewalk up against the wall, and being the cynical, nerdy outcast that I was, of course, I'm playing Diamond, I think it was at the time, on my DS, and I'm just fuming at this point. Straight up resenting the fact that I have to sit here and watch these overly happy little tutu girls walk by all day, giddy because they're doing their little dance stuff, while I'm stuck there doing nothing. And a few hours in, I had had enough. So at one point, this girl walks by with, I'm assuming her parents, and this, you know, sequin covered dancy tutu thingy. And by the point that I thought their backs were turned, I made the meanest, rudest, nastiest face that I could possibly muster at them. Probably something about like this. And unfortunately for me, somehow the dad saw. So he wheels around, looks at me, I'm looking at him, and he says, "Who you making faces at, you little geek?" In hindsight, it's pretty funny, but at the time, I was mortified. Because I knew I was a little geek. And while nowadays I take that designation as a badge of honor, back then, I was pretty self-conscious.
My sensors indicate that you are indeed a weenie.
So the rest of the day, I was like sneaking around hiding from the dude, afraid that he was gonna beat me up or something. But anyway, I think back and I'm like, what would I have done in situations like that, or during 8-hour car rides or whatever else? I took these games everywhere, and for me, they were a super effective solution for boredom and a way to cope with being, well yeah, a little geek. And last, but definitely not least, is the sense of community that Pokemon provides. Especially as a kid who didn't fit in, and even now as an adult, these games provide me with a sense of belonging that I'm not sure I would have gotten otherwise. Because even as other social groups have failed, Pokemon fans have been there along the way. At the very least, being buddies to bond with over a shared interest, and at other times being actual friends that I developed meaningful connections with. And with so much research pointing to the huge importance of socialization for mental health, it may not be that much of a stretch to say that Pokemon has benefited my well-being in ways that other more traditional or normal communities have not. Like I mentioned in another video recently, getting out and playing with local Pokemon Go players in my area has been a hugely positive thing in my life and something that I've really needed lately. And what's great at this point is that even if you don't know anyone who plays in person, there are entire online communities across a multitude of platforms entirely dedicated to Pokemon. And that's a beautiful thing, and that's exactly what I want this channel to be. Entertaining, interesting, attention-grabbing, sure. But even more than that, I want this to be about having a place to belong. A place to hang out and talk about the games with other fans. Believe me, it's something that I need and really have always needed. So if you're watching this and this resonates with you, I invite you to leave a comment and let me know how Pokemon's had a positive impact in your life. I want this channel to be about more than just me, because I'm just a dude. A really goofy one. So yeah, as always, I sincerely appreciate you guys watching, and I hope that this video provided a little more insight as to what makes Pokemon so special. And be sure to stay tuned for the part 2 video coming soon that's going to give 5 more reasons why I've remained obsessed with these games for more than 25 years. So until then, thanks again guys, and I'll see you in the next one. You little geek.